Following the horrific beating death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis, which was carried out by 5 black police officers, the media rushed in to emphasize the most important angle of the story that wasn't being told. How it was actually all white people's fault. The police who killed Tyree Nichols were black, but they might still have been driven by racism. The View's Whoopi Goldberg somehow managed to make all this about white people too.
When will the brutality finally lead to some police reform from the ground up? Because clearly, it doesn't matter if it's a white policeman or a black policeman. It is a problem in the police, in the policing itself.
All right, fair point. Go on.
But how many times do we have to? Do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything?
Wait, you just said it had nothing to do with race.
It is a problem in the police.
No, it's got everything to do with race.
Do we need to see white people also get beaten?
White people in America are getting beaten by the police all the time. And guess what? No one cares. It's never a national news story. You just had 2 major examples recently. Here's one and here's the other. I can't even play the clips because they take the video down.
Do we need to see white people also get beaten?
Have you heard of Jason Harley Klopfer? Yeah, thought not. A 41-year-old disabled man in North Carolina shot with his hands up in the air. Again, I can't even show the full video. He wasn't resisting, he was obeying commands, he wasn't armed, and they shot him down like a rabid dog.
Do we need to see white people also get beaten?
I don't remember Whoopi Goldberg getting too upset about it. I don't remember there being 24-hour rolling news coverage of the incident, and I certainly don't remember anyone going out and protesting about it. No one cared.
Do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything? I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah, sounds like you are. Sounds like you're suggesting they need to start beating up more white people just to prove they're not racist. Is that the new diversity quota? See, she's implying that there's virtually no instances of white people being beaten up by police. But that's just the perception, because the mass media is never interested in the reality that there are instances of that all the time.
Do we need to see white people also get beaten?
Yeah, maybe you're right, Whoopi. Maybe Americans do need to see more of that. But how are they going to when you never air the videos of it or talk about it? The views of Whoopi's co-hosts were no less idiotic.
I watched this video this weekend because, to Sarah's point, I thought as a white woman it was really important to watch it. And it was heartbreaking and painful. And what it made me think of is the conversations both of you have had to have with your kids to say, you may have interactions with law enforcement, you have to be careful. Something that is hard for me to even understand.
What? The whole premise of the beating video being a black man being murdered by 5 black police officers proves the source of the problem is to do with policing. So what's it got to do with race? Again, I could play you 100 videos of white people being beaten by the police in America. They barely make the news. I could spend half an hour talking about black-on-black murder rates in the United States. No one's debating that on the Monday edition of The View after another weekend of carnage in Chicago, are they? It's only an issue when they manage to, via whatever method of tortured mental gymnastics, twist the narrative to white people bad. And exactly as I predicted. Despite the death of Tyree Nichols being so plainly more unjustified and more barbaric than the death of George Floyd, are we going to see months of violent rioting, looting, a racial reckoning, endless admonishments, self-flagellation? No. The riots were muted, and they're already over. A few police cars got attacked, a few windows got smashed, and it was pretty much done. Oh yeah, and the Hibbert sports store got looted. Because I guess for some, justice for Tyree must have been predicated on obtaining that new pair of Air Jordans. But comparatively speaking, it was a damp squib. Why do you think that is? Stories like this suggest things are only going to get crazier. And that's why it's more important than ever to stay sound in both mind and body. Which brings me to testosterone, which regular viewers will know I've talked about before. Boom! I've been taking this for months now, and I'm continuing to notice the benefits. More energy, especially in the mornings, improved stamina, less stress and fatigue, better focus and concentration. Overall, it helps you become the best and most masculine version of yourself. It also works for women because it's non-hormonal. But again, don't take my word for it. Go on the website and read the reviews from other customers. 98% of them are 5-star. Our environment is polluted with all kinds of crap that's turning men more feminine. Testosterone levels have been declining at a rate of 1% every single year. Sperm counts are decreasing exponentially. Studies show that in the past 50 years, there's been an overall 32.5% decrease in in mean sperm production. And despite our modern gym culture, men are measurably weaker than they were just a generation ago. They want you demoralized, they want you weak, they want you low T. Fight back against that with turkesterone. If you want improved muscle, strength, and libido all in one pill, check out turkesterone via the link below and use the discount code PAUL at checkout for 10% off. And remember, by supporting my sponsors, you support me directly. Now back to the video. Let's not forget that Whoopi's got previous. In 2021, she called for Broadway, which is called the Great White Way because of the color and the bulbs used to illuminate it, to be renamed because racism or something.
What we need to probably stop calling Broadway, maybe we can stop calling it the Great White Way and replace it with the Great Bright Way.
Yes, the photons are racist too. As Brandon Tatum explained, these national conversations around police brutality and race always omit one crucial factor, which is not to say that some police aren't totally out of control, as we saw in the case of Tyree Nichols, but you'll never hear Whoopi Goldberg or anyone in the mainstream media talk about how violent confrontations with police escalate in the first place.
No. Let me say this. This is how they feel about you. You black, so you don't have to think about your wife and kids when you get pulled over. You can do whatever you want to do. Don't think about your kids and your family and be responsible for it. You got a job? Who cares about your job? Who cares about your reputation? Who cares about your life? They're going to pay your family out anyway. So go out, drive reckless, do whatever you want to do. When they pull you over, argue with them. And tell them and ask them, why you pull me over? You just pulled me over because I'm black. And they say, sir, get out of the car. I don't have to get out of the car. This is the message that they telling black men. This is a PSA they should be giving black men. Don't get out the car. Verbally assault the police officer. And if you get a good police officer, you may live. You get a bad one, you may die. But who cares? You black, so you get to do that in America. That's how stupid these people sound.
We now learn at least 2 of the cops involved in the death of Tyree Nichols joined the force after the Memphis Police Department lowered their standards and launched an effort to improve their diversity. Tadrius Bean and Demetrius Haley both joined the Memphis Police Department in August 2020, more than 2 years after the department dramatically loosened the education qualifications to become an officer. Recruits no longer needed an associate's degree or 54 college credit hours to join the force and could get by with 5 years of work experience. Are we approaching Clockwork Orange levels of dystopia here, where crime in troubled areas spirals out of control to such a degree, thanks in part to the Ferguson effect, that they're literally going to have to start hiring criminals to police the other criminals?
Oh no! Well.
Back in 2019, Memphis police launched a program to make their department more diverse to better match the population of the city.
Williams acknowledges diversity is necessary, that common ground creates comfort.
And a lot of times when people see people that look like them, that understand their culture, that have the ability to walk into some of these situations and possibly defuse them without using physical force.
Well, that worked out great, didn't it? Here in the UK, we're seeing a similar phenomenon, where in 2014, the Metropolitan Police vowed to have 40% of the force be represented by ethnic minorities by 2023. Matt Parr, the head of the organisation responsible for inspecting British police forces, told The Telegraph that London, which will likely be a minority white city in the next decade or so, should not be policed by an overwhelmingly white police force. White people bad. To achieve this diversity quota, they started hiring officers who were mostly illiterate and could barely even write police reports in English. Worse still, the pool of ethnic minority officers that wanted to do the job was so small, they literally had to start hiring people with criminal records. Genius.
Well.
The Met managed to bump up their diversity quota to 17%, but now crime in the city is spiraling out of control, with large department stores having given up on calling the police to stop shoplifters, and car crime having effectively been legalised with just 0.5% of cases being solved by Scotland Yard. What a massive shock that when you drastically lower the standards of entry, you get drastically lower standards of policing. I guess their resources must just be busy elsewhere. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, and personally DM me. You've seen how much I get demonetized all the time. Well, this is how you support me. By subscribing at pauljosephwatson.locals.com. Please click the link in the description.